Artificial intelligence in the workplace is sitting at a massive crossroads right now. On the one hand, it represents this looming threat of hyper-surveillance and rigid micromanagement. But on the other hand, it holds the key to an unprecedented opportunity. We're talking about a chance to completely redesign how we support workers, especially those who have historically been totally sidelined by traditional workplace design. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to unpack why getting AI right isn't just about boosting productivity. It's really about protecting and empowering the 15% of the global workforce who need it the absolute most.
Okay, let's dive into this. If we really want to understand the stakes here, we have to look at this number, 15%. This represents the estimated global neurodivergent population, and honestly, some estimates even push that up to 20%. So we aren't talking about some tiny niche subset of workers. We are literally talking about millions upon millions of people whose cognitive profiles just differ from what society has historically built up as typical.
Here is our roadmap for today. 1. Meet the 15%. 2. AI as workplace surveillance. 3. Why assistive AI is needed. 4. The massive regulatory gap. 5. T-Treaty and worker protection. And 6. Reforming AI for the future.
Section 1. Meet the 15%. Understanding neurodivergence.
So the neurodivergent umbrella includes profiles like autism spectrum conditions, ADHD, dyslexia, and dyspraxia. And here is what's absolutely crucial to understand. These workers bring immense, demonstrable strengths to the table. We're talking about incredible pattern recognition, lateral thinking, creative problem solving, and this amazing ability to hyper-focus. Yet, despite all these massive assets, neurodivergent workers disproportionately experience underemployment, along with way higher rates of workplace stress and burnout. Why is that? Well, it's because modern workplace environments, things like open-plan offices, implicit social expectations, rigid communication styles, they were all fundamentally designed for neurotypical norms. The harm isn't intrinsic to the workers themselves. It's just a profound mismatch between their profiles and the environment they're forced to work in.
Moving right along to Section 2, AI as workplace surveillance, the threat of algorithmic management. Introduce rigid algorithms into this already uneven playing field and, well, you get a severe conflict. Algorithmic performance management tracks metrics like task completion rates and response times, and it does it in real time. But let's look at ADHD for a second. It's often characterized by variable attention and periods of intense hyper-focus. That means a worker might produce highly focused, incredible quality output, but it's interspersed with periods where routine administrative tasks just take a bit longer. If an AI system is rigidly calibrated to expect this perfectly consistent flat line of output over time, it's going to systematically misread this entirely natural neurodivergent working pattern as underperformance or even disengagement.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the problem starts before they even get the job. AI tools are heavily used in recruitment these days to screen candidates and score video interviews, but they're often trained on historical, neurotypical data. Meaning, an AI might literally penalize an autistic candidate for natural variations in eye contact, facial expressiveness, or vocal modulation. The AI treats these traits as red flags for suitability, when in reality, they are just neurologically variable characteristics that have absolutely zero bearing on the candidate's actual capability to do the job well.
And then there's just the sheer stress of not knowing. The source material puts it perfectly. When workers do not know the criteria, data sources, or logic used to evaluate them, the resulting uncertainty generates anxiety, hypervigilance, and reduced autonomy. If you're being managed by an AI but you have no clue what data it's pulling or how it's judging you, that creates immense anxiety. For a worker who might already be highly sensitive to unpredictable feedback, this lack of algorithmic transparency isn't just a minor annoyance. It is incredibly exhausting, and it's a recognized psychosocial hazard.
Section 3. Why assistive AI is needed. Flipping the script.
In employment law, there is this fundamental concept known as reasonable accommodation. Basically, it means making adjustments to a role or an environment so a disabled worker can thrive and participate equitably. But right now, we are largely using AI just to watch and measure workers. What if we flip the script? We should be utilizing AI as the ultimate accommodation tool to actively support them. Just look at the incredible assistive AI tools that are already out there. These aren't just fun little nice-to-haves. They are revolutionary, essential tools that actively level the playing field for the 15%. Things like AI-generated meeting summaries and clear task structuring tools can massively reduce cognitive load for autistic workers. For workers with ADHD, you've got intelligent scheduling, AI-powered reminders, and workload visualization tools that beautifully support the executive function demands of complex roles. These tools can drastically reduce the everyday friction between neurodivergent working styles and neurotypically structured environments.
So the crucial point is the design distinction. What are we actually building here? Are we building surveillance AI, which basically just monitors individuals to enforce rigid compliance? Or are we building supportive AI, which analyzes aggregated, de-identified data to flag structural risks and organizational hazards before they cause real harm? The first one amplifies psychosocial harm. The second one actually improves safety and outcomes for absolutely everyone.
Section 4. The massive regulatory gap. Unprotected and unguided.
To see exactly where the law is failing us, we can look at this phenomenal regulatory gap analysis taken directly from the New Zealand Journal of Health and Safety Practice. It breaks down the current legal framework to show exactly where it is fundamentally missing the mark when it comes to protecting neurodivergent workers from AI-driven harms.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how painfully consistent the failure is across the board. The Health and Safety at Work Act 2015, it requires minimizing psychosocial risks, but makes literally zero mention of neurodivergence or AI-generated risks. What about the responsible AI guidance? Well, it's completely non-binding and relies on this implicit neurotypical baseline. Even the big, comprehensive international standard, ISO 45003, doesn't actually identify automated performance systems as psychosocial hazards. Every single one of these instruments addresses a tiny piece of the puzzle, but not a single one connects AI governments to neurodivergent worker protection in a way that is actually enforceable.
This massive gap leads to what researchers call the disclosure trap. If you want to get assistive AI as a reasonable accommodation, as a worker, you usually have to formally disclose your neurodivergence to HR or your boss. But doing so carries a heavily documented risk of deep stigma, changed relationships, and very real career disadvantage. Because the law doesn't specifically protect neurodivergent workers in these automated environments, the people who most desperately need these AI accommodations are often the ones who are least able to safely ask for them. It's a total catch-22.
Section 5. Te tiriti and worker protection, a constitutional obligation.
Here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, Te Tiriti o Waitangi establishes active obligations for the Crown to protect Maori rights and well-being. But as the research points out, Maori conceptions of cognitive difference and relational well-being are entirely absent from current AI governance instruments. Relying solely on Western-normed neurotypical baselines completely shuts out holistic understandings of cognitive difference and completely ignores the frameworks of Te Ao Maori, the Maori worldview.
Integrating these obligations wouldn't just be a box-ticking exercise. It would be transformative. True partnership means involving Maori in the actual good-faith co-design of AI systems, not just a quick consultation after the fact. Protection means actively safeguarding workers from algorithmic harm and bias screening. And participation ties directly into Maori data sovereignty, which is the right to govern data collected about Maori workers. Imagine if an AI system was built on Hawara, prioritizing holistic physical, mental, social, and spiritual well-being rather than just cold compliance metrics. And what if it recognized Wanungantanga, prioritizing relational connection? It would completely revolutionize workplace safety and create an infinitely more inclusive technology landscape. Section 6. Reforming AI for the Future, the Path Forward.
Let's move to the actionable solutions, because this research doesn't just point out the problems, it gives us a clear path forward. Here are the 4 critical steps required to actually reform workplace AI. Step 1. Legislate to classify employment AI like automated recruitment and performance management as high risk. This would trigger mandatory impact assessments. Step 2. Officially mandate that assistive AI tools must be considered a valid, reasonable accommodation option for disabled workers. Step 3. Take active steps to embed T Treaty obligations directly into AI governance. And Step 4, take the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and actually translate those employment rights into binding domestic AI regulations.
And if you're thinking, well, that sounds like an impossible regulatory dream, it's actually not. The EU AI Act of 2024 has already classified AI used in employment, worker management, and recruitment as high risk. It sets the global benchmark by legally requiring transparency, human oversight, and the right to an explanation. The blueprint already exists out there, it just needs to be boldly adopted and adapted to our local contexts.
Which leaves us with this final, profound question to consider. AI has the incredible potential to make workplaces more inclusive, more accessible, and psychologically safer, but it is not going to happen by accident. So, to the employers, the tech developers, and the regulators out there, are we going to use AI to surveil and punish based on rigid, outdated baselines? Or will we deliberately choose to use it to support, accommodate, and empower the 15% who desperately need it? The choice is entirely ours, and the time to decide is right now.
Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.